Have you ever wanted something so bad that you just went ahead and bought it and then later on thought to yourself, I have no idea what I just did. Maybe I made a mistake. Well, I just did that. I bought my dream car off a Copart, sight unseen, from another state. We got the car running. But that's about as much as I know about the car. So, Freddie and I are about to go underneath it. So I am excited to see what else we can find.
Okay, so.
Oh, don't sound so unenthusiastic. This is your dream car, and it's the first time you got underneath it, and there's a lot of treasure underneath here.
I'm scared right now.
Oh, don't be.
There's a lot of rust right there. Like that's.
When you say a lot of rust,
it's pretty rusty.
Okay, so let me explain to people that Jack lived in Florida most of his life.
Yes.
So he doesn't know what rust is. So this is not rust. This is like slight discoloration. Rust is when you can put your fist through something. So this is not rust. This is totally fine. But coming down here, dude, this is in really good shape. I mean, there's a little bit of surface rust, and you can tell some of the stuff got chewed up because it was in Copart and they like to use forks on everything. But
yeah, I'm seeing dents in the back, all the way back here. So that's not good, but it's not bad because that's all accessible down there.
You see dents in the back?
Yeah, like look at the frame rail.
How good are your eyes?
Look at the frame. You can see it from here. It's like bent up. Like that whole piece is bent up.
How do you see that?
I have laser eyes.
You have laser eyes.
Listen, that's how I measured the Ferrari. Just tell everybody
have
that,
they
okay?
been calibrated? Okay. I do see this. Is this supposed to be like a little U?
No, that's supposed to be perfectly straight.
Okay, so that's.
But that's nothing. That's a little tiny bar we can bend back.
Okay.
But
you got a little oil. You wanna taste that? That's hair.
Ew.
That's hair.
That's disgusting.
Dude, why is there hair on the bottom of your oil pan?
Maybe they hit a deer.
This has a Megan exhaust, Megan Racing.
Oh, nice.
You know?
That's high dollar stuff.
When you say high dollar,
like Chinese high dollar?
Well, okay. Anyway, so no, seriously, this the steering rack.
None of the boots are torn.
Yeah, the bushings are all like in good shape. It looks like it was taken care of relatively well. Like, other than these wheels that are a little stance boy, and oh boy, I love that.
Yeah.
That's always a sign of quality. Yeah, like everything here seems okay. You know, you can deal with a little spruce up, and you can get some dry ice cleaning, but
that'll definitely help a lot.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some other Go Fast parts here.
Oh yeah,
it's got a little wastegate. That's a
Turbo Smart. Yeah,
nice.
That's cool.
Okay, so I mean, it's got some goodies on it. It's got
so that
some
means the
things
engine might blow up.
Yeah,
you know.
No, well, we know it's not going to blow up because it ran. Fantastic.
Yeah,
sounded amazing.
So did my McLaren. Whoever had this car has been a naughty boy, and he took out the catalytic converter.
That's a Regal. Hey, you're flashing. Your light is flashing. It's like.
See, this is what happens when
here.
No catalytic converter. This has been converted to a test pipe, and then I do like this. This guy, the stock O2 sensor, the secondary O2 that tells the car that it has a catalytic converter that's not even connected to the exhaust.
Yeah, you just plug that hole with weld.
And this has a wideband O2 sensor. Fun fact, you should never put wideband O2 sensors on the bottom, because what happens on the bottom of exhaust pipes is water starts to settle, and then it gets into the sensor, and then the sensor is no worky no more. So that needs to be dealt with. There's a little bit of rust over here, not too bad. There's just rust on the heat shield. That's probably the rustiest part that I've seen so far.
That's not bad. That's all replaceable.
Yeah, the heat shield is no problem at all. And the heat shield, it gets a lot of stuff because of the catalytic converter here, but it's not here anymore.
Yeah.
So then we have, it's a 3-inch straight through exhaust, so it probably makes some good power. I don't like this though. That's real close to
right next to the drive shaft.
Yeah. So coming back here,
leaking a little bit.
A little bit leaky. So that could be from here. There's like a little washer, a little O-ring there. That could go bad.
The problem area is right here. I know that is exactly where they rust, and I'm really nervous about it. So, You just tell me what it looks like, because I'm pretty scared about this, honestly. This has been something that was my nightmare, that I'm replacing frame rails, rear rails.
How hard is it to replace frame rails?
Extremely hard. You have to section them in, or you have to go all the way into like the cabin area and then cut the floor up, and yeah, it's not.
I am so sorry, but you are not gonna have to replace any frame rails.
For real? Dude.
Yeah, look at it. Look, it's fine.
Hell yeah, dude. That's not bad at all. Like,
No.
it doesn't look, usually it's like they rot like right here and right here. And I don't see anything. There's like a little bit of
Yeah, it's
something
like
going
a
on here,
tiny,
but-
tiny amount, but that's nothing. You can paint over that.
Yeah.
What's worse is that this is all from Copart.
Yeah,
So Copart just forked this car, and then like you could see the fork marks going from here to here, and then it goes back over here, and they just scrape the fuel tank.
Yeah.
So that's
That's
good.
that's what they do.
Yeah.
They're good at it. Listen,
Oh yeah, they scrape the arms right here.
the front's worse. Did you see the front?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
good.
that's pretty bad, but at least, I mean, now I can breathe a sigh of relief, honestly, because that was my biggest fear, is that was rusted out and that was going to be a lot of work.
You were having nightmares.
I was telling you frequently about the fact that I couldn't sleep at night because I'm thinking to myself, like, it's just a lot of work and I really didn't want to do it. But so far, this is not bad. Like, none of this is rusted back here.
Well, there's
Like,
no accident damage either.
Yeah,
This car has been really clean in terms of accidents or like fender benders. Just nothing here.
Look at that. Look at that up there.
What?
Nice.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's right there.
Stance Nation.
That's a Stancy boy right there. I got a baseball bat and I'm about to roll some fenders.
I'm betting there's a pound of Bondo on that quarter panel. So
It's probably actually that makes sense why the quarter panels are a different color.
Yeah.
Because they screwed up the bodywork that bad that the panels probably buckled a little bit and then they had to redo it.
as long as it's not like the BMW, which most people haven't seen yet, but that was really bad. And
Yeah.
as long as there's no holes under there or rust or anything like that, I think we'll be okay. Just
Yeah.
it's gonna be a little bit of metal work and shaping, but
Dude, I am so excited for you because this looks really good.
this is fantastic. Like
Yeah.
I feel like the worst of it is kind of like, where they have the Copart damage, but
The worst of it is up there.
Yeah.
That's where I got hit.
it's not the.
That's the worst of it.
I'm trying to think positively here.
Well, the positive is that you're a body guy and you can do that.
I might be able to do that. I don't
Now
know.
you tell me?
So now that Freddie and I have looked underneath the car, we know that it's really not that bad. There's minimal rust, which is great. We found some things that are not so great, but those can be changed. But now I really have to find out what is going on underneath all of this mess. So the first step is taking this thing completely apart and figuring out what parts I'm gonna need to order and seeing what I can get. Now knowing what was going on the underside of the car, I wanted to find out what was happening from this accident. So the first thing I did was I pulled the hood, then I pulled the wipers. Once I pulled the wipers free, I took the cowl panel off to see if there was any damage hidden underneath this cowl panel from the upper rail getting hit. Thankfully, nothing was bent, so I moved on to the wheel liners and pulled those too. Next, I removed the rocker cover in the fender for access to the upper half of this car so that later on I would be able to easily measure it. Now with all that stuff out of the way, I took the wheel and the wheel liner off because I wanted to make sure there wasn't any more damage from this accident. It took a pretty good hit, and you never know what you're going to find when you're removing these parts. Sometimes you find some funny things, as you'll see later on. Now that I got all this other stuff out of the way, I need to get this radiator and this condenser out. And if you remember from before, the AC is still charged.
Whoa! I got hit with a bunch of Colorado.
Thank you, Freddie, for discovering that for me. So now I gotta get this AC out. I don't have an AC machine, but thanks to Derek and Rita at DRZA, I got one now. Huge thanks to Derek and Rita over at Drizza Auto. They let me use their AC machine, and that's really important because you can't release this stuff into the environment, and not only that, it's really bad for your lungs. Next step for me was to drain the radiator so I can get the radiator and condenser out of there and see what was going on behind this core support.
The AC and cooling system have been drained. Now it's time for me to get this radiator and condenser out of here. I can already see here where I didn't expect something to be damaged. If you can see here, the condenser has been pushed in and those cooling fins are going right back into that radiator. I already know there's some damage to this radiator. It's holding fluid, but I need to get this thing out of here so I can see what else is going on with this core support, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to replace this anyway. So I found a problem, and I believe this problem is why the car was running a little funny at idle once we got it running good. So over here we have the intake air temperature sensor. And I believe this was unplugged, but that's not the problem. The problem is this plug is totally different from this sensor. It's gonna be a little bit of problem solving. I'm sure it's just something as simple as finding the right sensor or changing the plug, but that's just good to know. Oh, okay. And now I found another problem here. So behind the charge pipe here is the, I believe this is the boost reference sensor, and it is just flopping around right now. So let me get this out of the way and I'll give you a closer look. Free. Okay, there it is. So, let me get you up in here a little closer. Now you can see that this is just kind of dangling around. That can't be good. I'm pretty sure that's bashing against stuff while you're under acceleration, but no big deal. I'll make a bracket for it or something. I'll find out what other people do with it. So just one more problem to solve. Now with those new discoveries, it was time to take out the intake, the upper charge pipe, and the radiator. And just wait, because our interesting discoveries are not over yet. I found something very interesting here, and I want to show this to you guys because this is actually a really bad way to run any kind of gauges into your car. So check this out. Right here I found a line that has been zip tied to the hood cable. On this line, it followed right into here. It has a 10 milliliter bolt holding the backside of it here. I have no idea why. I'm assuming because they took the gauges, but if you look right there, there is the pinch mark from where it went into this boot, and it was completely sealed. There's no way that this was actually reading any kind of boost. If you come back over here, it's kind of just been loosely ran across here, and it's just kind of sitting on top of engine parts right there, and it goes all the way back over here to this side of the engine. So that right there was definitely causing some issues. You were definitely not getting a clear boost reading. And if you ever run gauges, make sure you try to run them through something on the firewall, and make sure it's a clean pass through where you can seal it up and you won't have any issues with a boost leak. Now that I got the condenser out, I can see here very clearly that all those cooling fins had been destroyed and pushed out. But not only that, look at the shape of this condenser. It is it's doing a little bendy bend. And not only that, look at here. It's my favorite kind of product. Somebody has fixed this car before. I'm assuming they were fixing the hood area, but yeah, that's a little body filler right there. Got a little Bondo, so awesome. Anyway, this is garbage, so I'm gonna go throw this on the floor now, and let me show you what's going on with the radiator. So exactly like the condenser, the radiator is all cattywampus and twisted. But not only that, it's got a big impact point here where it hit the turbo and caused some damage there. But other than that, it looks pretty good. I don't see any damage to the cooling shroud or the cooling fan shroud. But yeah, this is no good either. Something else I noticed in here is the turbo. It has a little bit of play in it. I don't know if it's going to be able to be seen on camera. I got my fingers in the way, but you can kind of hear that. So the turbo has a little bit of play in it. That's probably gonna need to be rebuilt, but that's okay because this is all gonna come off. I've got some new stuff here that is gonna replace this, but it's gonna be a little bit of a pain because as you can see here, the rust has eaten away at some of these bolts. So I've already hit them with some WD-40. Next step is trying to get them off, and most likely what I'm gonna end up doing is hating life and welding something onto that to get it off. So I really hope that works. I really don't want to mess the head up. I don't want to take this engine apart any further than I have to.
Now with the cooling system out of the way, it was time to tackle the power steering as well as the oil cooler and get those removed as well. And by the way, it gets even sketchier. You should see what I found next. It was probably the most dangerous thing that I've seen on the car yet.
Captain Log, day one. Sketchiest stuff I've ever seen. This is not the sketchiest thing I've ever seen, but it's up there. So this is the power cable that has been ran to the back of the car when they relocated the battery because it no longer fit with the new intercooler piping. But what they did is they ran a loose wire all the way across, not attached to anything. It's moving pretty freely. And they put an eyelet on that, and then they just connected it to the backside of the factory terminal for the battery. Nothing was changed. Technically, it's not that bad, but none of this stuff was secured, and I can see over here where the wire is chafing. All right, I'm gonna take that off because that's really sketchy. I'm definitely not gonna keep this on the car at all.
Next, I removed the overflow tank as well as the power steering reservoir, and then I moved on to the AC lines, which would make this really easy to lower this engine out of the car. Next, I removed the fuel injector wiring harness, where I learned very quickly that you can shoot these clips clear across the shop, never to be found again.
It's not looking good. Definitely got to replace the core support. Definitely got to replace this upper rail. This apron panel here has got to be replaced too. And there's some damage here to these strut towers. So not really sure what I'm going to do about that. As far as parts, I need to call up Mitsubishi and find out when I can get them and their readiness and availability. But before I do all that, I just want to measure the top of this car to see if it is out of spec. I'm gonna do the same thing on the bottom when I drop the engine, but I'm pretty sure the rails on the bottom are okay. These rails here and here look to be okay to me, but I think what ended up happening here is when this car got hit, it shoved everything this way, causing this to go a little bit that way on the top. We'll find out right now because I'm gonna measure it, and yeah. Hopefully it's not that bad. Before I cut anything apart, I want to make sure that this car is straight and I don't have to do any pulling or structural pulls on a frame rack because I don't have a frame rack. And when I looked at the car in Copart, I thought to myself, I'm probably not going to need a frame rack with this. I was hoping. So this is going to verify that. I had a friend of mine pull up the measurements for this car. This is called a SRAM gauge, and this is going to give me my distances between the points that I need to know whether or not this car is straight. I'm gonna do the same thing on the top that I do on the bottom so I can know that the frame rails on the bottom are square as well. So my first measurement is gonna be between these points right here. So it's gonna be from this fender bolt to this fender bolt, and it says that it's 1400 millimeters, which is roughly 55 inches. So just before 1555, 1400. So that's my damaged one right there. Let's see. So it's in the hole, drops in the hole, no problem at all. This is fantastic because that tells me that everything here got shoved down and got a little bit of damage, but it didn't affect this part here. It could be over this direction, so I'm gonna have to do something else just to make sure that that's not over, but next measurement is gonna be 1438, and that's this top measurement here. From there to there. Okay, so 1438 is just under 56 3/4. Let's see what we got here. Look at that, perfect. Spot on, drops right in place. Okay, so now I know my distances are exactly the same, what they should be. Next step for me to check, I'm gonna check these towers to make sure these towers didn't move, because that one right there took an impact really hard. Perfectly centered in the hole, and it drops down perfect. Look at this. Look at this. It is perfectly centered in those holes. That's good news. That tells me right now that this car has not moved in the upper structure at least. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to check in a X pattern to make sure that this is completely square, because even though these are the same distances straight across, it could be pushed over so that it makes the car in a diamond type of shape, which wouldn't be square, which would be really bad because I don't have a frame rack. I'm gonna go here to this top bolt. I'm gonna take it here to this one because I know this one is in the right place, apparently. So just test it, drop it in, drops right into place. You can see it's not moving. All right, now to the damaged hole over there, and come on, dude, that is freaking awesome. That's great. Now I know that this is in the right place, and the only thing that I gotta do is cut these old parts out and put new ones in. Really easy. Not that easy. Time to use a little persuasion. I got the car fully torn down, and I have a bunch of parts here that are pretty much useless. There's a few things that I can take off of these parts that are damaged, but the wiring harness has to be repaired. All these brackets here, these are pretty much useless. That is not needed. That's not needed. That's destroyed. Yeah, and the wheels are garbage. Radiator and condenser, no good. The fan is good. And this is the pile of good parts that I have right here. The only thing I need off that is the MAF. Everything else is junk. But over here on the car, we have some pretty good damage going on here. Definitely gonna need to replace this upper rail. It's pushed in right here and crunched all through here, so that's not good. This apron here, I don't know if it can be repaired or not. If it comes with the assembly, I'll probably just replace it because it would be much easier to replace this as a whole than it would be to section in pieces. But we'll get to that road when we cross it. Over here, this is really bad. If you can see that, that is crunched up pretty good. So that's got to go too. So hopefully I can find that part and everything should be good. Core support, same thing. Lots of rust. These are known to rust throughout this part right here. Water just builds up and kind of sits there. Other than that, really not that bad. So now that I know the top is square and everything is good beyond the damage, the next step is determining whether or not these frame rails have moved. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing that I did on top, but I'm gonna do it in an X pattern only because I need to know whether or not these rails have shifted left or right. Well, technically it would be right because it got hit from this angle. So I've already come under here and done some investigation, set my gauge, found a couple of good spots to measure off of, and if you can see here, perfect, right? Same spot on this side, perfect. Dude, let's get cutting this thing because I don't have a long time until SEMA, and I plan to bring this to SEMA, so I want it to be show worthy. It's a lot of work. Oh, what did I get myself into? Holy crap. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel, and in the next episode, you're gonna see the Evo brought back to life with a bunch of new parts. I can't wait to show you guys. I'll see you then.